Hi everyone! In today's masterclass, we'll build a production-grade movie recommendation AI agent, explore LLM-based evaluation using the LLM-as-a-Judge pattern, and then walk through the Agentic AI Playbook for real-world deployment. So let's start with the movie recommender. This is a movie recommender that's using 3 different agents. And I've hooked in LangSmith tracing. You also get to see Langchain in demonstration, LangGraph in demonstration. Now, all of these, please keep in mind that I've covered this as part of foundations in this YouTube video, the first YouTube of this particular series, right? So if you're looking for more specifics on LangGraph and LangSmith, I would suggest you please view this YouTube video. The focus on the movie recommender here is that assuming you have this knowledge, I show you how to build in LangSmith tracing in here. Okay, so you will see that the first few pieces, and by the way, I'm going to, as IK enables you with these building blocks in how do you stand up RAG, steps through the various building blocks that you see summarized in here. Okay, so I'm going to very quickly walk through this, but for more on it, I would strongly suggest you lead to IK towards enabling yourself in building that depth that you may need wherever you may be on your learning journey. Okay, so I build a movie recommender first with as a RAG application. I am building a retriever using a CSV file. Okay, so the first few steps in this notebook is all about how would you build a retriever. Okay, why am I going through this process? Because one of the agents that I use later uses this retriever, right? It uses this retriever as a tool. It uses this retriever as a tool, right? Again, I realize some of these concepts. I'm just summarizing it. IK modules takes you on a step-by-step journey where you learn these Lego building blocks much more gradually than how I'm presenting it right now, right? I'm just summarizing all of them together. All right. So assuming that all of the notebooks, this is a fully functional notebook, so feel free to work on this at your own pace. So once the retriever has been built, I come in and I build in a movie search agent where some of the tools that it's working with is search movies by criteria, search by actor. By the way, just like the algorithm sweeps through multiple titles to pick the right movie, hiring algorithms sweep through resumes. Even great engineers with incomplete resumes get filtered out by recruiter algorithms. Interview Kickstart's free resume analyzer helps you fight back with personalized feedback, in-depth gap report that tells you exactly what to improve, and the roadmap to get to your full salary potential. Do this before you apply anywhere else. It's free, and it could be the difference between rejection and your next Faang interview. Click the link and upload your resume now. Now back to the agent demo. Okay, then the review agent. Now, review agent is essentially helping for, it has a role, movie analysis and critical evaluation. Now, remember, I had QA workflow, practice mode workflow, and practice answer evaluation workflow. Here in the movie recommender, it's a search agent, review agent, and a trivia agent. They have a coordinator, so same patterns, different domain. That's the only difference, and different agents because the domain is different. Same patterns though. All right. So the trivia agent is essentially any specific entertainment and fun facts. So this talks about how to set up the search agent, right? You have different tools by using the Langchain annotation, okay, of tools. And the search agent has 2 tools, search movies by criteria and search by actor, okay? Whereas the review agent, I think I put in 3 tools for it, analyzing movies and analyzing movie details, comparing movies, and getting genre insights. And then I think I had a trivia agent, which I might have ended up with 3 tools. Okay. Awards info, movie quiz, and movie trivia. I'm not stepping through them each at a time because I feel I have annotated this enough for you to step through this in your own time. So the trivia again, to summarize, 3 agents. Each agent is using 2 or 3 different tools. Search agent is searching movies by criteria, searching by actor. Review agent is analyzing movie details, comparing movies, getting genre insights. Trivia agent is getting movie trivia, movie quiz question, any awards info. And then you have a coordinator, which is routing between these 3 agents depending on the user's query. Okay, so just demoing this, let me just quickly connect. Let me just run through this quickly, and I'll show you the movie recommender with LangSmith tracing all enabled. OpenAI API key, connecting to my Google Drive where I have the data set. I've enabled this for access. So you should have access to this as well. But when you are downloading it, I've left you instructions. Make sure to download this, put it in your own Google Drive, and change the location. Okay. Change this particular read CSV to read from your Google Drive location. Okay. So I've left you enough footnotes. All right, there we go. There's movie description, analysis. Okay, I'm not stepping through this too much because some of these you might want to look at it at your own pace. I want to get to the LangGraph agent, the traces demo for the evaluation and the observability pieces in the movie recommender. All right, so now we've gotten to the piece where I'm demoing the LangGraph workflows, okay, with the 3 agents, the search agent, the review agent, and the trivia agent, okay. And you will see that with this LangGraph workflow, the movie agent system is being orchestrated with a coordinator. What would you like to explore about movies? Find me action movies, right? This should go to the search agent, action movies. And you'll see that yes, it routed it to the search, and then the search agent returned some action movies for us. Okay. So this is one, I just demonstrated how the multiple agents are working together. Now, let's look at it in the context of LangSmith. What are the traces that have been applied? So you need to set up your LangSmith API key. I've already set mine up, so plugging it in here. Okay, and this shows how to hook in LangSmith into the agent workflow. Okay, so this feel free to leverage this snippet. It's completely functional in this notebook. So now you have a LangGraph state and the workflow. These are your LangGraph traces. You'll see you'll see that there's an annotation traceable. These are LangSmith traces. Okay, and here's a run type. It's saying it's a chain. There's metadata attached to it. It's saying that this is part of the project movie recommender masterclass. Okay, and this is how you would annotate your agents with the LangSmith annotations. Okay, and I've demonstrated how it's being done in this context. Okay, so let's get to the execution. There we go. So I have a Gradio set up here, and this is running locally, by the way. So if I say find me action movies, again, it's going to do the same thing, but this has LangSmith tracing enabled. And I wanted to show you that with the tracing annotations that I've integrated in this notebook, how are the functions being traced, okay? And you can view, let's go back the ML interview assistant. I have to look for movie recommender masterclass because that was the project name that I used in there, okay? And LLM calls, you'll see all the LLM calls that have been the traces are being generated for, all runs with their traces. Okay, so this is pretty much how the movie recommender with 3 agents has LangSmith tracing enabled for you to take this and build upon it yourself. Okay, so I wanted to show you that in the context of the movie recommender. If you like this video, you will love what I have to say next. The 14-week Agentic AI program at Interview Kickstart helps engineers build real career-ready skills. You'll work on 2 live projects with Faang instructors and leave with portfolio work that actually makes a difference in hiring. Over 20,000 tech professionals have already trained with Interview Kickstart, with many moving into roles paying $300,000 plus. Want to learn more? Join the free upcoming webinar, ask questions, meet the instructors, and see if it's a fit. Link in description. And now the LangGraph visual. So you will see that I have a coordinator agent. It's called a router. I called it as a router. The node name is labeled as router. Okay. And I had the 3 agents that it's working with. This is called as a supervisor pattern, the review agent, search agent, and trivia agent. And I was able to pretty print it and show this to you. So your LangSmith traces this fully functioning notebook that you can use. You can see how I've hooked in the LangSmith tracing and how is it all working together in this multi-agent movie recommender that I built in this context of this fully functioning notebook. LLM as a judge. Now, I wanted to show you one other pattern, evaluation. So we've spoken about how to build observability with the movie recommender and the LangSmith traces. Now, how would you evaluate it? You definitely want to build custom metrics evaluators. You would also want to consider adding LLM as a judge evaluator. And this hands-on shows you how to do evaluation with using LLM as a judge. Okay, and there we go. So again, I'm evaluating a RAG pipeline in this example, in this particular notebook. The concepts are the same, right? It can be used to evaluate agentic AI pipelines, but there are some other dimensions that you have to expand on based on what this notebook is showing you. This notebook is only specific to a RAG-based evaluation, okay? And when I think about a RAG-based evaluation, essentially, what I'm doing is I'm evaluating whether the answer, the generated response, is correct. Did it match the ground truth answer? I'm also looking at, was the answer grounded in the retrieved documents? Okay, so I'm looking at 4 metrics: correctness, answer relevance, groundedness, retrieval relevance. And for all 4 of these metrics, I'm using LLM as a judge evaluation pattern. Okay, you would also want to consider building in custom metrics evaluators like my ML AMP example. Okay, so I've left in footnotes and show how you can take the same pattern of RAG evaluations, extend that into agentic AI evaluations, and also consider adding custom metrics evaluations. Okay, and again, for time purposes, I'm going to very quickly show you just the outcomes. Okay, so here's an evaluation data set that has been constructed. So the data set name, I'm using a sample data set, which has Amazon product reviews. Okay, it has product description and some review examples, and the specific CSV that I use is called sample dataset CSV. This is also accessible to you, right? So just make sure that when you download it, you're changing the location to your Google Drive. Okay. And so this is how I'm building for the correctness metric, I'm building the LLM-as-a-Judge evaluator. How do I do that? I give a correctness grade, right? I have a schema. I give the correctness instructions. Then I build the grader LLM. The grader LLM is using a GPT-4o, okay? And I'm using the schema that I set up initially, okay? And then I'm also saying with the instructions that I've set it up with, the correctness instructions, you will see that the grader LLM is being invoked with the correctness instructions, with the ground truth answer, and what the student, which is perhaps you, that your answer is being evaluated against the ground truth answer. This is your correctness LLM evaluator, which is using the GPT-4o as a judge. Okay. Similarly, you have the answer relevance evaluator, groundedness evaluator, retrieval relevance evaluator. Okay. And then when the experiments are run, this is how I did my benchmark dataset evaluation, right? In addition to having LLM as a judge, I also had custom metrics evaluator. In this notebook, you just have the four LLM metrics evaluators: correctness, groundedness, relevance, retrieval relevance. Okay. And then when it runs in LangSmith, I've done this run before, so I'll show you what it generated for me. So this was the Amazon products dataset run. It shows me when evaluated against for correctness, groundedness, and relevance. How were the scores? Okay, so these were the scores, and then if you start looking at the examples, there we go. These were the examples, right? And remember, this was a different data set, Amazon product data set. The input was, what are some of the best kitchenware? This was a reference answer. What are some of the best shoes in Amazon? What are some of the backsplash wallpaper products available? And this was added as a data set in here, right? So I added this as a data set here. I set it up, I defined the examples for the benchmark data setting here, for the benchmark testing data sets here. And the data set name is Amazon products data set new run, which is what you're seeing in this particular example, in the LangSmith run here. Okay. And then when it ran the tests against these evaluators, these were the scores that were retrieved. And then you can go and drill into each of them. Okay. For each of the reference outputs, this was the output, this was the response that was generated. So this is your ground truth. This is a response that is being validated for correctness, groundedness, relevance, and retrieval relevance using LLM as an evaluator. Okay, so these are the scores that are being returned for each of these three examples in the benchmark dataset. Okay, so I know I rushed through this part of the notebooks and the demo, but I want to leave this as a pattern and something that you can build depth into using iCase modules that are relevant to you based on where you are in your learning journey. As an instructor, I teach some of those courses myself, so I know the depth that we go into there. So while these notebooks, I just demoed them at a very high level, fully functional notebooks. But in terms of building the depth that you might need, if you need to leverage the IK learning journey, this is the segment 5, the production playbook. All right. So core product development principles, right? Start with the problem, never the tech, right? In case of ML-AMP's case study, I did not start with how do I use LangGraph? How do I use LangSmith? How do I use observability? It was never about that. For me, it was about the goal. What was the goal that I was set up with, the North Star goal? Doing the goal setting and the monitoring, how to personalize ML interview prep, working backwards, right? Working backwards from the business impact outcome through the output metrics, and then setting up the evaluators for the to evaluate the input metrics. All of which would translate into, is it meeting the business impact that it is intended to tap into? Right? Fail fast with prototypes. Now, there is no doubt that you have to build prototypes, right? It's fast, right? Build many of them, fail fast, or learn, iterate, right? Start with small size data sets, work towards big size data sets, figure out which model you want. Again, remember there is a friction between generic metrics versus agentic AI eval based metrics. Remember, there is going to be that friction. So when you're working with prototypes, you're working with generic metrics. As you move your prototypes into production, you're working against evaluation-based metrics. Please keep that in mind. That is going to be your skill. That's going to up-level your career in multiple ways possible. Okay, work backwards. Evaluation-driven development, we've seen that. Focus on failures, focus on collecting traces, focus on what's working within your agentic AI application, focus on what's not working, right? And collect traces, build that visibility, make sure that you're building that visibility right from day one, right? The framework for it, okay? Observability from day one. Human feedback is gold. I've used a mixture of human feedback as well as running those evaluators. I do have feedbacks captured in each of those modes, the user feedbacks, which I did not stop to show you, but there was thumbs up, thumbs down in terms of how the responses were being presented to the user and whether they liked it, whether it was the right difficulty level. Okay, so remember, human users are your best evaluators, regardless of custom metric evaluators, regardless of LLM-as-a-Judge evaluators. So think of it this way, right? You have automated metrics, which are good for foundation model testing, fine-tune model testing, component-based testing. Then you have the as-a-judge and human evaluators, right? Three different buckets that you're working with, right? Just know when would you use one over the other. Each one has its own pros, and the specifically the eval-driven approach builds on the generic metrics. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Human feedback is still gold, although expensive. It is an expensive process, right? So lean towards the evals-driven approach, transition from generic metrics into the evals-driven custom metric evaluators, including LLM-as-a-Judge, and then your human feedback is also gold, right? Don't miss that part. They are your best users are your best evaluators. Progressive complexity. Do not build in the complexity into your agentic AI application right off the bat, right? Build in complexity only when metrics demand it. ML, I started a RAG-based application into an agent application, and even with agents, I did not have 7 or 8 to begin with, right? For the 3 different workflows, I ended up in a multi-agent pattern only after multiple iterations, after the analyze, measure, iterate loop, right? Only after certain iterations did I end up in that phase. Okay, so add complexity only when metrics are demanded. My one key takeaway is the best agentic AI systems are built. They aren't built, but they're grown through continuous learning and evolution, right? Every interaction, every trace that you observe, every metric that you measure, every failure that you record, every failure that you observe is your chance to improve. Okay, so keep that in mind. Those are your generic guidelines. Now, in terms of, and this is my template that I would leave you with, right? You have LLM applications which work with models. You have your production and LLM apps to which you're hooking in the observability. When you're doing the LLM app evaluation, app validation, right? Your LLM apps could be agentic AI apps, or it could be even a RAG-based app, right? It could be any AI system. It's pretty much summarized down to as LLM app validation. Any LLM app validation, you will have evaluators, right? You will have evaluators, and these evaluators, they are monitoring your production LLM app, right? So please monitor them. They can have a pass condition or a failed condition, right? Include the human feedback, and remember, it's a loop, right? It's a continuous loop. This is my all of that you saw in ML AMP, right? It's simplifying it down. This was the trace evaluation that you saw in ML AMP. This is the evaluation data sets that is being used as LLM app validation, right? So I'm dropping the ML complexity and I'm giving you a generic production playbook that you can take away, right? And see how you can adapt it to your own application. The concepts are the same. It's the same architecture diagram that I presented. In case of ML AMP, I've just given you a more generic template, right, that you can leverage and apply to your own agentic AI application as you learn to bridge the gap from prototype to production. Okay. Remember, it's your career opportunity here, right? There's a lot of demand for this particular segment specifically, moving from prototypes to production. Okay, and this is your agentic AI playbook. IK enables you your tools with the Lego building blocks that you need to build yourself into that engineer or a product manager or that professional who can bridge the gap from prototypes into building production ready AI systems and agentic AI applications. Your journey does not stop with prototypes. You need to go the full way. You need to go you need to travel the whole 360 degrees for you to be in big demand, right? And believe me, this is a opportunity that you can tap into and leverage into. And hopefully this masterclass today showed you with NLM and these demo notebooks in terms of how you can build the knowledge that you need to become to help the organizations move from prototypes into production ready agentic AI apps. Okay, that's it. That's pretty much what I had for you today. Hope you had a good session. Thank you and see you the next time. Bye bye.